Uh, First of all, I want to reintroduce Congressman Kim. Such a historical moment for Korean American history, and suddenly the Atlanta area, Georgia, immigration history of Korean Americans that have Congressman Kim travel all the way down to Atlanta and then meeting with us. So this is a very unique and very historical time. And your children and ourselves in just a few years, next year, we'd like to bring him back as a U.S. Senator, and then we're going to celebrate a different way. The Congressman Kim, too fast.
No, don't jinx me.
Yeah. Congressman Kim is not only a statesman and a respectful congressman and to be a senator, but it is a symbolic person. He is a symbolic person to our generation. I mean, the first generation of immigrants. So it is very important moment, and then I'm very, very glad that all the press, the Atlanta media has come and cover this story, because you work so hard in every which way, and the Sunday afternoon you come out and cover this story. I want to thank you so much. 내가 이 안디 킴하고 만난 지가 한 5년 전에 우리 마이클 파크에 있는데, 저 마이크가 그 CK 여러분 아시다시피 KSC Korean American Coalition 거기에 그 지회장을 맡고 있을 때 세라도 여기 와 있지만 그 당시에 처음에 만났어요. 그 당시에는 first freshman 클래스였어요. 그런데 얼마나 익사이트했는지 몰라요. 그래가지고 만나서 처음 만나가지고 인사를 하고 보니까 이 사람이 제목이 아주 특출해. 여러분도 느끼실 거예요. 이 사람을 보면은 다들 좋은 사람들이지만 결국 그 쓸만한 제목이 있고 또 자기들만 위한 제목이 있고, 그런데 이 나라를 위해서 필요한 제목이 여기 생겼구나. 특히 우리 다음 세대에 이런 사람이 나왔다는 것 자체가 너무나 반갑고 감격스러웠어요. 그래서 자세히 지켜봤는데 볼 때마다 이게 자랑스럽고 우리 아들 제너레이션으로서 하는 그 일이 너무 크고 밖에서 보여지는 그 이미지가 너무나 좋은 거예요. 저는 그 한인들이 보는 이미지가 아니고 뉴저지 내에서 컨그레셔널 디스트릭에서 생겨지는 일들을 이렇게 들어보면은 상당한 그 지지를 받고 있고 공감을 갖고 그래요. 네, 여러분 아시다시피 우리 에이시안 얼굴을 가진 사람들은 이렇게 파퓰러 하기가 쉽지가 않아요. 우선 그 선입견이 있고 그 스테레오타입 이런 게 있어가지고 그 쉽지가 않은데 그 고개 그 문지방 넘기가 엄청 어렵습니다. 이게 우리 뭐 다 이민사회에서 겪은 일이지만 이 컨그레스나 저 워싱턴에 가가지고 그 문턱을 넘는다는 거 쉬운 일이 아니에요. 아무나 할 수 있는 일이 아니에요. 거기 워싱턴 간다고 다 되는 게 아니에요. 그런데 때가 맞춰져가지고 하나님이 보호하사 하나님이 도우셔가지고 이번에 상원의원을 나가게 되잖아요. 이거는 어마어마한 일이에요. 이건 우리 인간으로서 할 수 없고 하나님이 도우신 기회다 하는 저는 그 철저히 생각하고 있어요. 그래가지고 제가 봤는데 그 개인적으로 도네이션 하시고 그런 분들이 있었지만 이렇게 오가나이저하고 그런 펀레이싱 모금 행사를 하는 분이 몇 분 물어봤는데 잘 안 되더라고. 그래서 나라도 해야겠다. 여러분 아시다시피 나는 공화당 사람인데 공화당에 계속해서 몸담고 공화당 파라시를 지지하는 사람인데 그것이 쉽지가 않았어요. 그렇지만 이거는 그 당이 문제가 아니고 이건 우리 아이들이다. 우리 아이들 세대를 돕는 일이다 하고 생각을 하게 됐고, 이건 물과 불을 가릴 필요가 없다 해서 나타났는데, 정말 기분이 좋고 그 자랑스러운 거는 아틀란타 분들이, 많은 분들이 여기 참여하시려고 생각을 많이 갖고 있어요. 주머니 사정이 좀 안 돼서 못 오시는 분이 많아서 안타깝지만 저는 깜짝 놀랐어요. 제가 기대를 했지만 기대 이상으로 한인 사회의 반응이 너무나 좋았어요. 그래가지고 이게 한인 사회 앤디 킴을 통해 가지고 그 한인 사회 저력을, 그 포텐셜을 볼 수 있는 큰 기회가 돼서 저 나름대로 엄청 기쁩니다. 다른 도시, 미국 다른 도시에서도 펀레이징을 지금 준비를 하고 있고 이미 한 데도 있고 그런데, 그래서는 앤디 컨그레스맨 킴을 여기에 모시게 된 자체, 그 자체가 하나님이 주신 기회라고 생각을 해요. 그래서 아마 여러분께서 많은 관심이 가지고 계실 거예요. 그래서 질문을 이 한국어가 쉽지가 않아. 듣는 거는 많이 듣는데 이 말하는 거는 쉽지가 않을 것 같아요. 그래서 여러분은 또 이 영어를 하시는 것보다 듣는 거는 더 훨씬 쉽고, 그러니까 좀 통역을 한다기보다 한국말로 질문을 하시고, 그 다음에 영어로 대답을 하고, 모자라는 거는, 못 알아듣는 거는 제가 좀 높고. 그런데 여기 우리 함께 우리 박형곤 회장님이 계십니다. 이 일을 위해서 여러분이 도왔는데, 우리 마이클 팍 앞으로 좀 와봐요. 그래가지고 이 일을 도와가지고 돕기 위해서 홍승원 회장이, 동남부연합회 홍승원 회장이 엄청 애를 썼어요. 난 그 사람 그 저력을 다시 봤어요. 그러게 되고 우리 이 마이클 팍이 젊은 사람들을 해서 동원해서 애를 많이 썼고, 그 다음에 우리 박형곤 회장님 처음부터 뭐 한국에 가 있으면 한 달 정도 가 있었는데, 그 동안에도 한국에서 일 보는 틈틈이 여러분들한테 지원하고 해가지고 오늘 상당히 그 목표 달성이 될 수 있을 것 같아요. 예, 사실은 25만 불을 해주고 싶었지만 그거는 안 될 것 같고 10만 불은 될 것 같아요. 그러니까 아틀란타 한인사회에서 이 저력을 보인 겁니다. 이게 어떻게 보면 적지만 엄청 많은 돈이고 난 자랑스럽게 짝이 없어요. 그런데 이거는 나는 말만 했고 이 두 분과 홍승원 회장 이렇게 애를 많이 써가지고, 그러면서 서승권 씨의 저력이 나왔어요. 이 연락하고 하는 거를 뒤에서 많이 도와주고, 그래서 그런 일이 있습니다. Lee, you just got here. Maybe you can meet him separately later on after this the press meeting. 그래서 질문하실 거를 질문하시고, 우선 Congressman Kim, would you open up your conference?
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate the generosity. I just, as you were speaking, it reminded me today is a Sunday. The fact that you're all out here today on a Sunday, when you could be working over the weekend, resting over the weekend, I'm appreciative to all the press for coming on out. This is my fourth trip to Atlanta in just the 6 years that I've been in Congress. It has been one of the most exciting places for me to be able to travel to outside of my home district in New Jersey. And I've really feel connected to the Korean American community here and the broader Asian American community here. As mentioned, I first came out here for a conference. But I'll be honest with you, the second time that I came here was in the aftermath of the shootings at the spa in 2021, when I came to meet with some of the families of the victims and talk to the broader community. So to be here with you on good days, but also some of the toughest days that you've been through, that was something where I really came to understand the way in which we might be able to continue to work together. Between this, I've had the great honor of now being in Congress for almost 6 years. When I first started in 2019, there were 0 Korean Americans until, in Congress at that time until I came in. And so I've had the chance to travel all over the country to meet with Korean American communities all over. And I have to say, the community here in the Atlanta region is remarkable. It's one of the closest knit communities I've seen. Certainly one of the most friendly and community oriented communities. And to be here in this amazing building, and it's certainly the largest community center I've ever seen for a Korean American community anywhere in the country. So I'm excited to be here. I recognize that I am not your congressperson. If all goes well with this election, I'll hopefully be a senator, but I will not be your senator. But I will also, but if I am elected, I will be the first and only Korean American in the United States Senate in the history of America. I will also be the first Asian American in the United States Senate ever from the entire East Coast of America. And with all the different issues going on right now in the world, it's important to have a voice in the room and a seat at the table. So I hope the Korean American community and the Asian American community here in Georgia, I hope they understand, even though I am not their direct representative, I hope you see me as someone who can give voice to our community, someone who can represent that story of our people and our community. That we just recently celebrated the 120th year of Koreans coming to the United States. And this year is 50 years since my parents immigrated from South Korea to the United States. And I know that that's a story familiar to pretty much every family that's out there. There is a commonality between us, even if we don't know each other particularly well yet. And I'm excited to be able to do this work and to be on the cusp of something that can be a historic milestone for the community. I do this not just because I am Korean American, but because I think about what comes next. As I told you, I think about the 50 years that my family's been here, the opportunities that we've had, what's put us in this position where we can make these gains, not just in politics, but we see a generation of Korean American leaders stepping up in every single sector and industry in this country, in business, in medicine, in law, in entertainment, and sports and other things. And so I think that this next 10 years is going to be the most dynamic and exciting decade for Korean Americans in this country, certainly in politics. But I also do this because I am a father of now a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old. My youngest just turned 7 yesterday. So I am a father of 2 little beautiful baby boys. I still call them baby boys. And I worry about what kind of future they're going to grow up in. You know, I talk to you about issues about Korean Americans and Asian Americans, but I cannot ignore the dynamics in this country, especially just what happened in our country yesterday. These are scary times here in America. You know, it's scary what we see with the violence, with the attempted assassination of a presidential candidate, former President Trump, the threats that are out there, the concerns that are out there. And I'll be honest, yesterday I was celebrating my kid's 7th birthday when I got the news about what happened at that rally and the shooting at the rally in Pennsylvania. And it got me worried about what kind of America are my kids going to grow up in. And I know that that's on the minds of everybody, in particular the Korean American and Asian American community, because if your family and the families here in Georgia are anything like my family, my parents came here to try to give me and my sister a better life. And that means good education and safe communities. But when we see this level of violence and this concern that's out there, it's worrisome. What kind of America are our kids going to grow up in, especially when we saw the increased discrimination and hate facing the Asian American community writ large in this nation. We see increased tensions between the United States and China. That's affecting how xenophobia and discrimination is here in the United States. So these are issues that I want to continue to engage the community here in the Atlanta region on. That yes, right now, today, I'm getting help from incredible leaders here in the community for my race and what I'm trying to do with this election to try to make history. But it's not just about that. And I hope people see this election, it's not about me. You know, this is about our community getting to this incredibly important mark where we can continue to say that we belong here, and we can say that we have a seat at what will be the most powerful, deliberative, legislative table in the entire country. We deserve to have our voice heard, especially with what our community has contributed to this country. And I hope that that's something that makes all of you proud. And I look forward to hopefully being able to serve for a long time. I 2 days ago just turned 42. So if all
Happy
goes
birthday.
well, thank you. So happy to celebrate my birthday weekend here in Atlanta. But hopefully that is a place where I can continue to serve this country for potentially decades to come in the United States Senate. And I can use that time and that power and that place to try to inspire younger Korean Americans and Asian Americans to get involved in public service and try to bring in a new generation of leadership in our country, which is something now more than ever people around this country are looking for. And I hope people see the value of what I can bring. I'm a Korean American that won 3 times in a congressional district that's 85% white, less than 3% Asian. Shows that I can be a representative not just of Korean Americans or Asian Americans, but I can be a representative across the board. And that's something that now I'm trying to do in a state of 9 million people in New Jersey. Again, the Asian American community, while fast growing there, and there is a good Korean American community there, but the Asian American community is no larger than 12% in New Jersey. So oftentimes people keep saying, you know, there's no way that a Korean American or an Asian American can represent the entire state. That, you know, that we're too small of a minority or we're not the right kind of community. And I want to be able to just put that to bed and be able to show I have every bit as much right to be able to represent my home state in the United States Senate as anybody else. I am as American as anybody else. And my story is not just a Korean American story or an Asian American story. It is also fundamentally an American story. And that's the kind of legacy I want to push forward for us to be able to change that narrative, break through those barriers, and hopefully give my kids and their generation more opportunities, more room for them to dream of being able to do anything that they want in this country. So I'm grateful to be able to be here. Happy to take any and all questions. So thanks so much.
예, 그러면 이제 지금부터 여러분들의 이제 질의응답을 받겠습니다. 먼저 손을 들어주시면 제가 전 뉴스앤 포스터 홍성구 대표님.
Even though you say you want to stay in phase that the identity of American as you said, yeah, but still the reason you are invited today and also the Korean Americans support you is you are Korean American, right? So I would like to ask you that what kind of legislations you are recognized about relate to the Korean community?
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, I certainly recognize that, and that's something I'm really proud of. And I've become even more aware and proud of my heritage as I've been in Congress and been able to meet people all over the country. And I try to be responsive to the issues that I hear within the Korean American community. And I can tell you that, you know, no single community has exactly the same needs, but I hear a lot of the same things. First and foremost, what I try to always express is Korean Americans, first and foremost, they're interested in things that a lot of people in this country are interested in. It's not just about issues that are directly related to us. We have as much of concern about affordability in this country, about healthcare in this country. In particular, I've done a lot when it comes to small businesses, as that is the way that so many Korean American families have been able to build up wealth, be able to get their foothold in this country going forward. There was a lot that I did during the pandemic to try to make sure that that government support and funding was provided, and in Korean language, information about those resources, that the government, including the Small Business Administration and others, did direct outreach to Korean American businesses. So that's one thing that I've worked on a lot. a lot, for instance, on adoptees. This is something that has been a big issue across our country. We've been able to get that through the House of Representatives. We haven't been able to get that through the Senate in terms of the legislation that would open up that pathway forward for Korean American adoptees that deserve to have clarity about their nationality, about their citizenship. So that's something that I continue to push forward on. As mentioned, I came here in 2021 in the aftermath of the spa shootings. So I I promised those families that I talked to that I will continue to push for the kind of gun violence prevention legislation that we need. And after the tragedy yesterday, it reinforces the need for us to be able to do that. But also the underlying issues about discrimination and xenophobia that fueled that. So the passage of the COVID-19 hate crimes bill, additional work we're trying to deal with to be able to provide more resources to Korean American communities, Asian American communities, about these issues. And that's something that I can speak to in a very personal way as well. When I worked before I came into Congress, I was a diplomat in the State Department. And when I was at the State Department, I was actually banned from working on issues related to the Korean Peninsula because I'm Korean American. And I found that to be incredibly offensive. I found it to be humiliating that my own country did not trust me to work on issues related to Korea because I'm Korean American. That's the kind of discrimination that, we unfortunately see, this sense that, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but this sense that we are perpetual foreigners, that we care more about what happens in Korea than we do here. And that's, those are the types of things that we're trying to overcome. So those are a few of the issues that I hope to work on. Also a lot related to the Korean Peninsula, that as a former diplomat, someone who's worked in foreign policy, I want to make sure that the Korean American diaspora and community here in the United States has a larger voice in terms of what the United States should be doing in engaging in foreign policy in Asia at an incredibly important time.
다음 또 유진이 기자.
Yeah, I'm Eugene Lee, the Korean News Atlanta in the Atlanta Radio Korea. 2020, I had you in my talking, the radio show, by phone call.
Yeah.
Yeah, so today on the almost the same question, I give you the two questions. One thing is today the fundraising event is supported by Korean Americans. Almost the same questions, but much details. I need much details. When you be elected as a senator, then what or how will you do for Koreans
Yeah.
or Korea?
Yeah.
A little bit details.
Yeah, I'll go into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, look, beyond what I was just saying on that front is, I am not asking for people to support me just because I'm Korean American. I hope people see in me that next generation of leadership that this country needs, and I hope Korean community across America sees the value of having someone that looks like me, looks like us, be able to represent across the entire country, across our entire state in New Jersey and elsewhere, that we can be seen as leaders, not just for Korean Americans, but writ large. I think that is something that will help our country move forward. But beyond that, I will, for as long as I'm in the United States Senate, be somebody that will have a vote in the Senate for every single presidential confirmation job in America. Every Supreme Court justice, every federal judge, every cabinet secretary, everything else. That is an opportunity, if I'm there in the Senate, where I can try to lift up and bring into leadership in our politics and in our governance Korean American leaders, whether from Georgia or across this country, to be able to have Asian Americans, Korean Americans as judges. I would love to, in my time in the United States Senate, knock on wood, I get there. I would love for my time in the United States Senate that I can help get an Asian American Supreme Court justice, for instance. I want to see that in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I want to see, that kind of leadership around the board because, for instance, at the beginning of this, last administration, when the Biden came in, with their cabinet, they did not have any Asian American cabinet secretaries when they first started their administration. Like I don't want that. I want to make sure we have representation more broadly. And if I'm in the Senate and I have a vote on this, I have a better ability to leverage that. And that's going to be something that we make sure that we're able to address. That when Korean American communities around this country don't feel like they're being heard, don't feel like they're being seen, when they have issues that come up, I hope that they see in me as someone who will listen, someone who will fight for them, even if they're not from New Jersey. I would be a United States Senator and someone that can try to step up for anyone across this country. Yep.
The second question is, would you give us any confirmation or confidence, the word, 2 or 3 words, to win this election? For example, fighting.
Yeah. Look, I think what I'll just say is I've won every election I've ever run, and I feel like we are by far the strongest campaign in this race. So absolutely, I'm happy to do fighting because we're gonna make sure we bring the energy going forward to be able to win this thing. But I can't do it alone. I'm running in a statewide race of 9 million people. I have to get my message out. And I really have to say I've been heartened and blessed and humbled by the outpouring of support from Korean Americans all over the country. Many of them I've never met before or meeting for the first time, but people who see excitement in what I'm trying to do. I feel blessed.
Congressman Kim, welcome to Georgia. My name is Lee Wong. I'm with Georgia Asian Times. My questions are twofold. You ran on the campaign theme on building trust and restoring integrity to the U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
If you are elected, what action will you specifically act on in your first 100 days to accomplish towards that goal?
Yeah.
That's the first question.
Yeah.
The second question is, right now, young AAPI is very disillusioned with American politics. The left and the right squabble all the time. You don't see them coming together toward a common goal. What is your position on that, and what would you do to bring the heat down?
Yeah. Yeah, look, on your first question about integrity in our politics, this is so central to who I am and what I'm trying to do. Let's just kind of take a step back. I am running in this seat for the United States Senate because my current senator is currently in a courtroom in New York City for alleged bribery and corruption, with having found gold bars and wads of cash in his home. People are losing faith in government. And that's what's causing so much of the problem right now is that, like in my home state, 84% of people in New Jersey believe that their politicians are corrupt. That is a devastating number. And so a lot of what I'm trying to do is about restoring that. And so, for instance, I've been one of the biggest leaders in Congress for campaign finance reform. I've pushed legislation that would try to end gerrymandering in this country and be able to have fair elections. I look at what I did in New Jersey just over the last 10 months. I stood up against a machine, corrupt politics in New Jersey that was problems in my own party, but I was willing to stand up against leadership even in the Democratic Party when I think that they're doing something wrong. For instance, I'm working closely with Senator Ossoff here in Georgia on legislation that would ban members of Congress from trading individual stocks, something that I'm very grateful for Senator Ossoff's leadership on in the Senate. And I've been working with colleagues in a bipartisan way in the House of Representatives to do that, because people need to know that their elected leaders are looking out for them, not for their own personal benefit, not for their own bank account or stock portfolio. So those are the types of things that I have been pushing and are continuing to push. And to your second point, which I think goes off of that, is you're right. I mean, young people are very disillusioned right now in politics. It's not just in the AAPI community, but we certainly see it there. But that's because young people they've grown up in the last 2 to 3 decades with an America that has been so dysfunctional. So much challenge and problem that's there. And they see the same old politics as getting nothing done. So the first thing I'll start by is saying you can get younger voters interested by having younger candidates, and I'd be the 4th youngest senator in the country. I'm somebody that's gone through a lot of recent issues with, paying off student loans, and, I have young kids, a lot of issues that we are dealing with that I think I can speak better towards engaging younger voters, in part because of the generational gaps there. But also, look, I am a Democrat that won a congressional district that Trump won twice. In the year 2020, when the last presidential election happened, there were only 7 Democrats in the entire country that won congressional districts that Trump won. I was one of those 7. It shows that I can be a builder at a time when most of politics feels like it's being dividers. And I've been somebody that can reach out across the aisle, somebody who can bring in independent voters, someone who can try to restore someone who can try to restore that sense of public service. And I think that that's something I've been very successful at, and I hope to continue to be successful at. And what allows me to do it is because I represent and I can show a different kind of politics. And so that's what I continue to try to do. And I will do that for as long as I can in the United States Senate to try to heal this country, fix some of these broken divides, and try to get people engaged. I'll end on this. I've been saying this line a lot lately where I say, I believe that the opposite of democracy is apathy. And a lot of young people are feeling apathetic, feeling helpless about our politics. But that is something we have to fight back against. So I feel very committed about this and want to make sure we do that work.
오케이, 김수영 기자님.
Well, I think you understood Korean, right?
What's that?
Understand
I get a little spotty, but I'm happy to try. Yeah.
저는 김수영 기자고요.
Uh-huh.
I have just 그 인터넷 뉴스 kubc5.com.
Okay.
제 질문이 하나 있는데 이거는 한국말로 할게요. 그 HR 1396 한반도 평화 법안에 대해서 그 에디기 의원님이 사인하신 걸로 알고 있는데 거기 주도적인 역할을 하신 걸로 알고 있거든요. 근데 거기 그 한국 분들 입장에서는 찬반 입장이 각기 나뉘어 있는 걸로 아는데 거기에 대해서 좀 그러니까
The 1396.
Yeah.
Which one's that again?
Korean Peninsula.
Oh, the Peace Act. Yeah. Yeah. So you're asking just my thoughts on that, and yeah. So
I know that you signed a bill. And
Yeah.
You're just your critical role in that passing, not passing yet though. But
yeah. I mean, look, I'm glad you raised it because I try to explain my position here on this. I'm somebody who worked in national security. I'm the only career diplomat in the United States Congress right now. I care a lot about our military. I'm on the Armed Services Committee. What I try what I am trying to do when it comes to what comes next with the Korean Peninsula is how do we try to have a United States foreign policy and strategy about the Korean Peninsula that is thinking about the next 70 years. Not the last 70 years, but the next 70 years. The problem is that we are engaged in a military partnership with South Korea using a framework from 70 years ago. 70 years ago, North Korea did not have nuclear weapons. 70 years ago, we didn't have the United States and China having the level of tensions that it does right now. 70 years ago, South Korea was not even a signatory on the armistice because the whole partnership there was about the United States rescuing South Korea with the Korean War. Things are very different now. I try to build a new partnership between the United States and South Korea. One that tries to treat South Korea as a full partner as an equal partner with respect, recognizing that Korea is no longer the challenged country that it was 70 years ago. It is now a top 10 GDP country, one of the biggest economic powers in the world. It is a cultural and arts juggernaut. It is one of the leading innovators of the technology of the future. Korea deserves to have more of an equal partnership with the United States. It can never get there if the United States strategy about the Korean Peninsula is still stuck on the Korean War, which is just inherently something that's holding Korea back. Because all my conversations in Congress, it's still about America helping Korea, and it's still done in that framework of aiding because of that. I still want to have a U.S. military presence in Korea, so I'm not asking for the removal of troops, but I want to make sure that that presence is done with the approval and coordination of South Korea. It is not something imposed on South Korea, which it currently is because of the armistice. So I want to modernize the U.S.-South Korea relationship, make it one based off of equals, make it one that includes not just military, but economic, technological, and cultural exchanges and ties. So I know that if someone just looks at that legislation, it looks like it's trying to ignore the security concerns that are legitimately there. And I am somebody that was just at the border of North Korea, South Korea not too long ago. I recognize the security concerns that are there. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I want to do is be able to bring the U.S.-Korea partnership into the 21st century, acknowledge the great work that's happened over the last 70 years, but think about how do we build it for the next 70 years.
I don't understand your position, but how about the nuclear weapons? North Korea, they have a nuclears, right?
Yeah.
But South Korea doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if just the U.S. government just allows us to just develop nuclear weapons, they might be same. But 정전 당사, I don't know how can I say this. 정전, the armistice,
Yeah.
it's only between United States and North Korea, not South Korea and South.
Yeah, South Korea was not a signer
right.
because
So
they were.
why
Yeah. That's why you need something.
They're really concerned about this. So.
Yeah. Look. Yeah. They. So yeah. Look. I want to make sure that the U.S. and Korea, South Korea, have that strong military partnership. And when it comes to nuclear weapons, that's something that we have that continued engagement on. But that that'll be the heart of what we need to do going forward. Let's make sure we keep that strong. Yeah, thank you.
네, 저 다음 일정이 있기 때문에 마지막으로 우리 중앙일보 장채환 기자님 마지막 질문으로 기자회견을 마치도록 하겠습니다.
저도 좀 해주세요.
잠깐만요.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. I'm Cheon Jang. I'm a reporter with Korea Jungang Daily. And as you mentioned, your specialty is diplomacy. So I want to ask you about your future plans to collaborate, foster collaborationship between Korea and U.S. Especially in Georgia, we have a lot of Korean factories about EV or
Batteries, yeah.
right.
Yeah, no, look, and I've engaged closely with Senator Warnock and with the Korean government about how can we make sure that the United States is investing in clean energy and battery technology, but doing it in a way that works with our partners. We want to make sure that we're working closely with South Korea on that in a way that can really be a win-win for both of our countries. So yes, I want to make sure, I just talked a lot about the military security side, but I'm very excited about the partnership on technology. On the partnership, for instance, I'm trying to do a lot on cybersecurity, something that could immensely help South Korean businesses. So those are the types of things that I hope to be able to engage in. I'm in very close ties with the South Korean government about that and want to make sure that we do it in a way that benefits both of our countries.
예, 아무튼 이것으로 다음 일정 때문에
미안합니다. 우리가 5시에 미팅이 있는데 5시에
다 간단한 하나로.
I can do quickly. I can do quickly. Yeah.
모금 금액이 어느 정도 되는 달성했는지 좀 여쭤볼게요.
하나 더 둘에 하나예요.
여기 하나.
어?
라스트, 라스트.
요금 금액이 어느 정도 되시는지.
뒤에도 있다고 뒤에.
저희는 아까
예.
여러 번 했으니까
아니
지금
저
마지막으로
중요한 퀘스천이에요. 중요한 퀘스천. So would you give me a short comments about yesterday, the Trump shooting accident?
Yeah, look, it was a horrible situation with the attempted assassination. Something that we should never see in America ever, especially in the 21st century. That kind of violence that's out there. So we need to make sure that everyone's clear that that's not something that we should have in America.
Can you tell us about your
Thank you.
stance on
Thank you.
Biden? He should running.
Yeah, I have a, look, I certainly support our nominee.
Are you support Biden?
I certainly support our nominee. Yeah, I want to make sure that we can win in November. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your interest in coming.